And we're back. What's goody?
Hey, Mister, how you doing?
I'm living, man. I'm living. Just trying to chill, trying to unplug where I can, trying to grind where I have to. But I'm living, man. That's what's important.
That's good. That's good.
How about yourself, good brother?
I could use some unplugging. My days have been so full. I've been, going to like 11:30 p.m. Everybody wants to talk, have a conversation. It's incredible, ranging from folks I talked to in the past to like, I got an email from a sorority at Yale. Said, we want to have more conversations about these issues. Would you feel free coming, speaking, having a talk with us, And I'm like, yes.
Wow.
Yes. Exactly.
That is huge.
Yeah, totally. And it's the kids reaching out who are the students, like, hey, we just feel that we could use a conversation around these issues. Could you come work with us? I'm like, bet, and then that ranging all the way from, corporations and companies and it's interesting. I have the moments of like, told y'all all this time, and I'm also like, I'm glad you're here. So I respect that, but it does get, it gets a little, it puts you in your feelings, puts me in my feelings and has me feel certain kinds of ways and experience that, it's a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, thank you for your service, good brother.
Gotta change this world, man.
Got to.
Change this world.
We can't wait for others to do it.
Boy.
We gotta start. We gotta start and continue.
We need all y'all to come join the fight, the march, the bike ride, whatever it may be for you. Get in there. Get in
where you fit in. And come follow. Let's go.
Yes.
All right. So, brother, I see you are wearing yet another beautiful, beautiful piece of clothing. Talk to me.
It's interesting. I don't know if you noticed, Afro pop has always been here, but all of a sudden we're having like the Fela moment of the 2000s. Everybody's like, oh, that one song, Don't Rush. I think it was the first one. And then all these other songs are popping out. Like even here in New York City, Hot 97 has like an Afro pop like hour they're playing. I was like, wow. For one, I'm old. I listen to the radio and then once in a while. But so not that I'm wearing that shirt because of it. I'm just acknowledging that moment. But this is another from that collection that my friend and her husband made with the women. I ordered a couple of shirts. Some of them I can't fit into anymore. But other ones I have. But this is another one, handmade by the women.
Beautiful.
Brought, and it is perfect in this weather. I'm like, oh, this is why they wear this in the hot continent that the equator cuts across.
Talk about it.
Tell me what you got on today.
Just bringing it back, just doing it for the culture.
Hey, there you go.
Just doing it, trying to.
We need a series of your holds up because your hold ups are so good. Like the reveal, bang, bang, bang.
Gotta frame it, picture frame it.
Exactly. I like it.
Yeah. All right. So we got the fashion out the way. What you sipping on today, brother?
It's interesting. I was talking to a friend this morning. I said, I'll record at 5:00. He said, what you record? I said, I record the Brown Juice Barbershop. He said, what's brown juice? And I was like, oh man. We got work to do on you. Here's a link. Go do your homework. But I was digging through my goodies and thinking, oh, what I can pull out. And I found a little bottle I didn't even know I had.
Oh.
Exactly. Little thing. Ain't it cute? Hey, little bottle.
Hey, little Down Creek.
How you doing? Little 375 milliliters.
Okay.
Now Q100. So I thought I'd pull this out. I don't even remember how this arrived in the house. But it's here.
Beautiful. I'm sure it's going to go to good use.
Oh yes, completely. Small batch.
Yes, sir. Listen, the 9-year, 120 proof of Knob Creek is delicious.
Really?
It is.
Wow.
It is. One day we'll share it together post Rome.
Okay. Yes, I'm with it.
Yeah.
How about you? What you got?
So this is a special bottle for a number of different reasons. One, it was gifted to me by my brother-in-law again, and we did partake in it together. As a matter of fact, shout out to him and his wife, because today, the day that we're recording, is their 5th year anniversary.
Ah, beautiful.
Wedding anniversary, so shout out to them. But it's a delicious bottle from one of my favorite distilleries. And it's also a pic that was mentioned by someone on our Instagram at Brown Jew's Barbershop, was like, hey, check this one out. So it is the Pikesville. The Pikesville rye. And it's 110 proof. So, needless to say, if my screen goes black like this, you know what happened, brother. You know what happened. You know what happened. So I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. So shout out to, I think it was at Auntie Jean.
Oh, Auntie Jean is the people. We love Auntie Jean. She's good. We need to get her. You need to sit and drink some brown juice with Auntie Jean someday. She's a real mellow, beautiful soul woman, talent, all of it above. She's good people. I'm glad she made that recommendation.
I'm glad too.
Yeah, Auntie Jean.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. See now. This thing's been open and
Bring it out.
Oh my goodness. It's kind of funny. You got the bourbon and you got the rye and I got the bourbon.
Yeah, right.
Oh wow, that smells good. It smells delicious.
I like me a good cork too, huh?
Yeah, right? Straight up. Corks matter.
Yes. That's another t-shirt.
Hey.
Brown Jew's Barbershop merch.
You know what? We need this. This needs to happen.
Yes. Indeed. Indeed.
So, to your brother and sister-in-law.
Yes. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
To Auntie Jean. And then also the Corks Matter.
Oh, yes.
That might be the first t-shirt coming out, you know? Make it work. Corks Matter, yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. Cheers, bro.
Cheers. Ooh, hello, Knott's Creek. How you been? How's the Pikes? Yeah.
Told you. When that happened, you already know. All right.
Look at the ice cream and then sitting here like,
Listen, I used to hum when I was younger. Every time I used to get a food in front of me, a little plate. Yep, always.
Beautiful.
Always. All right. So, good brother, question for you.
Oh, I like questions. I like your questions especially. What's up?
Okay, because I know you are out here in these proverbial streets, whether it's digitally, whether you're sending emails, etc. I know you are working with the people, trying to bring them knowledge, trying to bring them along, and in many spaces supporting and affirming people who need that support and affirmation. Now, I know in your work in particular, there's always a lot of resources that you either provide, and there's always a lot of resources that folks ask for. Also thinking about this moment, particularly during the summer, you think about book clubs, you think about people having reading circles, you think about folks wanting to get their hands and access a number of different resources, but particularly books that might be popular, and now even more so popular because of the times we're in. I say all of this to say and lead up to a question that I have for you, which is, good brother, do you have any best practices for the people who are listening about how to not judge a book by its cover, but judge a book by its content if they're looking to educate themselves, particularly as it comes to how to be a doer of this work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, how to best educate yourself or oneself on the things that are happening, as opposed to falling victim to just reading the things that are trendy, or falling victim to, I'm going to read these things because for whatever reason it has a stamp of approval, and other things do not because I'm not familiar with them, even though these are scholars that should have been looked at and should be read because they've been doing the work for even longer than these new folks and new books. So I know it's a complex question and there's a lot of pieces, but what are some best practices? If I'm going to a bookstore today, or if I'm asking for recommendations, how can I know, I should bypass that one, or at very least I shouldn't start there? Like, talk to the people. What should we do?
Yeah, this is a thesis. I think there is a lot they should be doing, for one, and I think the reading is important. I think right now you think about you think of the New York Times bestseller list, reading list, and it's all the books that we have on our shelves that we've been reading with and people we've been talking to, having dialogues with, and it's kind of like, wow, look at people making demands. One of them on that list is a writer. Her name is Tiffany Jewell. She wrote This Book is Anti-Racist. And we were working on a project with her, and we're talking to her last week. And I asked her the question, I said, how does it feel to have all of a sudden your book be on the bestseller list? And she's like, it's a lot. It's really interesting. She talked about some technical sides of it in terms of the publishing world and how her publisher was like, oh, sure, we should make it. And then now they're like, we're out. And I'm going to tell all her business. But it was really powerful here to think about that. And it got me thinking in terms of around the question you're asking, which is why I mentioned it, that I think it's important for people to read as much as possible and explore it. But what is the effort that you can put into place to make sure that we have a movement and not a moment? We are in that space right now. We have to get past movement to moment and really dig into what this work means, how you participate in, how you show up, and what your experience is. So I think people have to work to understand. I think it's the power of all the books and works that we have out there. I do get a little worried, frustrated, annoyed with the folks who check the box in their read. If you read these books, you read this work, you attend this discussion, you attend this Zoom, you watch a webinar, you do anything that'll take to get you involved in the work, and you don't do something that reflects a change, a change of behavior, a demand for equity and justice. If you don't do all of that, what good are you? I'm glad you're helping these people make some money with their books or their seminars or their keynote addresses, etc. But we are really deconstructing some very serious history here. Rules, policies, practices, inequities, lack of justice. It ain't a game. People's lives are affected deeply by this work, deeply by this experience. So, in terms of even our practitioners who are reading it and giving lots of ideas, I've been very fortunate, and since I've been going to various schools dealing with this, with the whole Black Act that's happening in the private school world, and it's happening everywhere. It's happening in colleges. I'm waiting for the adult version. I'm waiting for Black Act place corporate name here. I'm like, what y'all waiting on? Because come on. So mark, if you're watching right now, go to Instagram right now and set it up. Black Ad Corporation. Yes. Keep it all anonymous and tell the truth. Put it out there. I think that disruption is the mode, and is the the moment of what's happening right now. That true us taking apart and saying, wait a minute, we've been quiet and silent about this all for too long. Now's the time to actually be different. And I think that is where the work is one place the work can begin. So in terms of, as I said, it's a thesis because there's so many things and pieces and ideas that need to happen, and exercises and work that's past performative that actually is substantial. Because you can all day long put up policies and things that we're going to do within a company. And we're all going to go through this diversity training. You're all not required to take this class. You're required to read this book. And that means nothing if the actual people who are reading the book, attending seminars, doing the Zooms, et cetera, they don't do anything to be different. Means it really could possibly be nothing. And it's a journey. In my worship this morning, there was a woman who was going in to try and understand what it meant for her to be a white supremacist. And I had to cut it off because I was like, this is not a conversation for me. Like I had a good time with all y'all. Buddha bless. I'm out. This is driving me nuts. And she's trying to understand it, and I was like, I don't need to witness you try and process all of this. Nigga, it has very little to do with me. And you're dealing with a legacy of supremacy you benefit from. I'm trying to understand your space in it. And I wish you well on that journey. But it's Sunday. I ain't submitted an invoice for this. I'm not getting paid. I'm here for love to an extent. But I'm also like, you know what? Okay, what I did in the chat, I was like, look, here's a great article that talks about that. God bless. And it was all about Toni Morrison's Beloved and her characters. So great. You know Beloved. You've read Beloved. So what it did for me, it brought it back, because I haven't read it in a while. It was talking about how the Quakers, that took part and helped free her family and helped get them on that boat. And they were also giving supplies and had a legacy of when the black folks showed up to the door, okay, go around back. They also had this statue they built in their backyard of a black man with his arms out and his mouth wide open. And so Toni Morrison, while she in her Toni Morrison way didn't have a chapter saying why this was wrong, she just presented it and shared it. And she showed her characters being around back, you smuggled me here on a boat. You got me on a boat to escape. You put your life at risk to get me free. Yet you're perpetuating a legacy of me being subservient to you. Powerful, right? Powerful. So, yeah. So I hope that touches on some of your question. I don't want to have me give a whole lecture or a sermon this whole talk, because you hit something I've been thinking about a lot. What do you think? What's your position on that?
I mean, I think you're absolutely right. It is a thesis. It is a dissertation. I have so many feelings, man. I really do. And I think particularly right now in this time. So I would, and particularly from white folk, right? When white folk are like, I read such and such book, or I'm reading such and such book, I know this is probably not what they're saying. I get it. However, in my ear, sometimes I'm like, that sounds like someone saying, oh, I have black friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, because here you are reading books that we've read a long time ago that we told you needed to read, but you couldn't find time to read it. Here you are reading books about real people and their real experiences, yet you do not engage with those same real people to discuss or actually witness and participate in their real experiences. So everything is you're still distant, right? I give a whole presentation about allyship, and I talk about allyship and move from allyship to being an accomplice, and from an accomplice to being a co-conspirator, right? Yes. However, one of the things I always talk about is the difference between sympathy and empathy. And there's really a distance piece there. Sympathy is like, oh, that's happening to y'all. I feel sorry for you. Empathy is like, wow, I feel what's happening to y'all, and I want to do something about it. But furthermore, so in order to get to the engagement, you have to move past empathy to compassion, which really leads to true engagement. However, I think it's almost like reading a good novel, right? You can experience it. You can be in this new fictitious world, but yet you still haven't experienced it. You can read this book about what people are going through, yet you still haven't gone through it yourself. So I don't know if it's really making an impression upon you the way that it makes an impression upon me, because I'm reading this book and I'm like, yep, that happened to me in 5th grade. Well, not 5th grade, because things were different. It didn't happen until I got to my predominantly white boarding school, 14 years old. But it's like, oh, that happened to me back in high school. Oh, that happened to me in college. Oh, that happened to me yesterday, right? So those are the things that I'm taking away and maybe getting more language to stuff that I've actually experienced. Whereas this is just like a pop quiz for vocabulary for you. Oh, I don't know it, but there's no high stakes really, right? And I also think about and get disappointed sometimes, or sometimes just really offended when some books by certain authors get lifted up, and other books that are classics to you and I, which might not even be mainstream or classics to others, are just pushed to the side or not even given a thought. So like, this whole time, I think I was reading an article earlier, and it was really just talking about, because it's another thing I talked about in my presentations, about how a lot of folks can profit in this space, particularly if they're not talking about doing it for the culture, particularly if they're not of the culture. They can profit off of the trauma, the pain, the suffering of the culture, talk about Black, brown, indigenous people, oppressed, marginalized people throughout the world. And they're profiting from it. And because of the way that systemic and institutional oppression and racism works, they're the ones who are reaping the benefits of getting money from it because white is right and everything else is not. Even though we're really the experts, not only on our own Blackness and our marginalization, but also whiteness. We're the experts. We've studied the game. We've had to navigate your spaces. So when people start talking about books, I'm like, all right, whatever. Put that book down after you finish reading it. What are you going to do about it? Because if you're just giving me a reading list and you're checking things off, and you know, you're it's almost like a mantle, right? You've got a bunch of different trophies. Folks who go hunting, they come back with these like stags or whatever they want to hang over the, you know, the mantle. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, here we go. Here we go. But no, you got a bookshelf. You read the books, but have those books changed you in any way? Like you said, have you changed your behavior in any way? So that, I guess that's where I'm at. So I would encourage people to read those books, but after you read those books, have a plan of action to do something. And if you read these books about real people and their real experiences, maybe you should go get a firsthand account and actually engage with these real people and understand and help folks with their real experiences. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I really, that's deep. I appreciate that. And I really appreciate you calling out the classics. You know, The Fire Next Time talked about all of this, and broke it down at a high level. And, you know, I celebrate the young people, even when I shout it out in terms of what they're doing. And, you know, there's a foundation they're standing on. And I think these people acknowledge and see, and it's important to have new voices. But I do appreciate that pullback, look back to what set it all up. And then, I think I had to deal with that and been quiet about it for years, of the people who don't look like me, whose keynotes get 10 times what my keynotes get, literally 10 times, and people are quoting the big names that are out there. And I've actually interacted with all the big names, like in terms of big places, because they show my little movie beforehand and then they're giving the keynote, or my movie's in the afternoon, or we both give keynotes, but mine is like the sub keynote, like I'm over doing the workshops and watching them get all the lights and action. And it is a matter of, I think, we that implicit bias test is real.
Yep.
People really respond to and see white as right and white as positive. I find myself having to check that constantly. I had a real moment after college and thinking about, it's like, what are the spaces that have trained me to think and be this way, where I lean towards that being a way of expert, that being what's correct, white perspective, and white people, and having like an affinity for that space and falling into it, and really had to catch myself and be like, what's this training you have? And then I think, but the value of understanding systemic racism, policies, history, practices, exclusion, inequity, lack of justice, and understanding the true nature of it was my path to healing. Because I was like, stop being mad at yourself and hating yourself, feeling that way, and say, you know what, if you don't stop and look at what you're doing, what you're being taught, how to perform, you're going to stay within that space. Which is why a shirt for the culture is important, which is why Brown Juice Barbershop is important, which is why the various things that we do, because it's like we're fighting against a big machine. And it's not even David and a Goliath, because we ain't even, if it's like the thought in David's parents' mind fighting against Goliath, because Goliath is so well formed, and we know the power we have, but in relation to what we're up against, it's a big one. But I think it's doable. I was thinking that today we're seeing more changes than I ever imagined in my life. Those monuments happening fast enough at the moment, even though all of them ain't down. Rizzo in Philadelphia, statue down, wall repainted, boom. Christopher Columbus statues like being pulled down and thrown into rivers. I love it. I love it. I'm like, yes, yes. We tried to have conversation with y'all, come to the table and have a dialogue and talk about movement. Y'all ain't do it. Peace. They're out. Pull down. You know. I also think about. I heard someone discussing this week. They saw Angela Davis speaking. You know, and Miss Davis, Madam Davis, has been around doing it, and what she said was, I've never seen this much energy and power behind this work ever. And to hear Angela Davis say that, she's started a lot of it, and she's been in a lot of it, and she speaks. It's her whole existence. Hear her say that, it's like, wow, that's real and beautiful at the same time. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I mean, we are in these times that are unprecedented, as they say, and we cannot let them go to waste.
No.
And you know, I'm interested to see how long this sustains. You know, there's a lot of things that are happening. There are a lot of forces and people who are trying to stifle the movement. There are a lot of folks who are trying to distract from the movement. There's a lot of nonsense out there that starts to pop up and capture the attention of the masses as opposed to what's happening right now. And we have to fight against that and get back to what we're doing, back to regularly scheduled programming, which is the revolution.
Yes. Which will not be televised.
Yes, sir.
It might be Zoomed. Well, I also love your piece about moving from allyship. I was in a conversation with some people, and I was talking about moving from ally to accomplice, and I got I don't like that word accomplice. It just sounds bad. And I was like, so as I said, moving away from ally to accomplice, if you're an accomplice, you know, that sympathy to empathy, that participation. And I say, like, if you go get in the car with me, don't get out when it gets scary. I need you to. That's when I really need to stay in the car, not jump out because it's too much for me. Gotta go. Like that's the ally life. And I'm not about the ally life. Just the work is too important. Way too important for the ally existence in life. I need much more than that.
Talk about it, because it's really, at the end of the day, and the way I view it, is posturing, and it's positioning, and it's performative, it's symbolic. They say that ally is a verb, but a lot of folks not using it as a verb. They're not taking action. As a space, it's like, you know, this is my credentials. These are my credentials. And it's like, nah. Because my question I always lift up is, what are you sacrificing? What are you sacrificing? At the end of the day, what are you sacrificing? What do you stand to lose? And then that's when I can really see where you are. Because again, if we driving somewhere and it gets a little crazy, this road is too windy, and you see the lights flashing behind you, you all of a sudden you want to hop out.
Tighten that seatbelt. Tighten it up. Hold on.
Talk about it.
Hold on. Because I can't have you rolling out. No.
Exactly. So if you're about that life, be about that life.
Right. Exactly. Because we need you. Yeah. It's intense. You know, when you think about this, how do you find your balance in terms of doing this work when it comes to people coming to you and demanding and wanting the support and needing you to explain and break down and witness or hear their stories? We touched this before, but as we're moving along, I don't know about you, but for me, it's gotten much more intense than I ever imagined. I've had so many calls that have actually been pretty powerful and great, but these aren't people that I talk to on a regular, you know, and they come in hot and heavy and then kind of disappear because they're going to go do the work that you talked about. But how do you find that balance for you?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I would say that, and I would imagine the same is for you. The work is so important, and because the work is so important, our heart is attached to it. Because our heart's attached to it, and because we have good hearts, there are times when it's hard to say no to the work, regardless of how it showed up in front of us. And that's difficult. However, I've learned to decipher the difference between my role and my responsibility, my position and my purpose, in the sense of, this is not my responsibility. My role as being who I am in this organization does not mean it's my responsibility, at least not solely. And part of the problem is you come to me when things need to get done that you should be doing. Same thing with other friends, etc. I can recommend some things, but I'm gonna need you to put in that sweat equity. I can give you a compass, and it's one that works, so you really have no excuse of which way north is. So when I see you walking south, don't say it's because you didn't have training. We gave you a compass that wasn't broken. You know where north is, yet you're walking south. It wasn't for the lack of training. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth it in terms of this situation? So I always try to think about, do the ends justify the means? And sometimes it's like, you know what? I really don't want to engage in this. But if I stand for what I say I stand for, if I am who I think I am, then I better do what I need to do. I might not want to do it, but I need to do it. So I try to decipher between, is this something that only I can do or only I should do because I only trust myself to do it? Is there someone else I can call to help shoulder the burden? Or is it something that is like a teachable moment? Whereas if you really are about this work, I need you to show me as opposed to tell me. I need you to ask for assistance as opposed to asking me to do something. So it's really about trying to decipher each moment and not treat all of them the same, because it's easy for me to treat everything the same. Because right now, like you are, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm good, especially if we don't have a relationship or a rapport to begin with. But if we do, I will lean on that, but also ask something of you if you're asking something of me. And it has to be reciprocal. It has to be. But at the end of the day, do the ends justify the means? Is this something that I really should be engaged in right now? Or are you trying to, I don't want to say use me, but milk my kindness and milk the passion that I have for this for not my purpose, and maybe not even the purpose in terms of like the greater good, so to speak, but so that you won't look bad, so that you can feel good. So those are the questions I always ask myself in these situations. And depending on where I arrive, that's the extent to which I'll engage.
That's good. That's really good. I'm processing it. Something you said that really stayed with me is in terms of, you gave them a compass and laid out the road. We've even gone forward and put like little treats along the road, built rest stops, paved the road, driven back and forth along it 5 times. I'm telling you, it's a good drive. It's an important drive. You will get there, trust me. And some of the folks like, well, are you sure? You sure that road is safe? That road is lead. I usually go this way. I don't know that. I don't know that way. I don't know what's down there. I don't know those people. I don't know that stuff. So I'm afraid of it. So I'm just going to sit here and not go anywhere. And you sitting there, your back is hurting because you paved it by hand, smoothed it out, taking out the bumps, or move the bumps later on to make sure they get there at the right time. Like you do so much and folks just don't really get it. And they come back and go, I'm not so sure. My shocks are ready, can handle that road. So, you know what I mean? Like that analogy is really strong because it went so many places for me. I think about that. I'm trying to figure that out too because I'm with you where it does feel like a responsibility, and even a privilege to be able to engage at these levels. But I'm proud of myself for this morning for pulling out in this conversation that I felt was going nowhere. I was like, this is hurting me, and I'm getting no value out of this. Here's a resource. Have a good first day, y'all. I'm out. Like really just dropping it and moving forward because that's that moment of like instant self-care of like, oh no, this is not a conversation for me. So peace. Good luck with y'all.
That's important.
It really is. It's so important because think about all the places we go, we sit. It's interesting. Like I want this COVID to go away so we can be in spaces together.
Yeah.
I think these kind of conversations. Think about all the meetings where all of us are sitting there like this, look at each other like. You heard that? or we just have this face somebody speaks. You know, because you're like, oh, they really just said that? Yep. And then you get outside and go, yo, can you believe she that? Mm-hmm. That's over. It's very like, hey.
Yep.
You need to reword that. We need to rethink that because you came out your mouth and it don't make no sense. You know, and I'm interrupting you to say what you're saying is problematic for the institution, for us, for me, for you, for the children, for the people, the workers, everybody. Like I need you to check yourself because you have officially wrecked yourself. You know? How are you going to turn that around?
Yes.
You know?
Yes, I love that because they have officially been put on notice.
Yeah, completely.
Put on notice. We passed out pamphlets. We slipped them in your mailbox. We put some underneath your windshield wiper. We let y'all know it's a brand new day. And if you forgot, you're going to be quickly reminded when we get back to being in the same spaces. Right.
It has to happen. It has to happen. In order for I don't know if people, I step back every once in a while and think about this. I don't think people really realize how major it is for folks to be like, no, you know, no, or here is my truth. We are not conditioned and trained and welcomed to speak our truth. Mm-hmm. Even those of us that are strong and confident and want to speak my truth, there's so many moments where it's like, is it worth it? Mm-hmm. Is it gonna mess with my money? Mm-hmm. Does this person deserve my energy? Am I going to explode? And, you know, remember the scene where Dave Chappelle is in the corporate office?
when keeping it real goes wrong.
You know, exactly. I mean, the reason why the audience is howling, because for one, everybody can relate to that. And then Black people, it's like, you know what? Straight up. Like, what? I think about that. Like, what happened? Because once it gets tapped, there's no going back. Oh, no going back. But the power in what's happening now is there's actually a space for that. You know, where there's not a need for keep it real goes wrong. I love when Kira's with that. I love it. My favorite is the phone one. Don't be playing on my phone.
Playing on my phone.
She goes,
now Brenda works at it.
Brenda, so good. It's so spot on. But it's funny, but it's also so deeply spot on for how what happens when you aren't allowed to be free. Mm-hmm. Why is it when keeping it real goes wrong versus telling what you need? How do we restructure that skit so it's, you know, telling what you need? I mean, some of them they have are ridiculous, but I think the meeting one is spot on. And he's like, what? Yep. You know, this thing jumps up and goes in. It's so good. Love it. I love it. Mr. Chappelle is genius.
Yes.
That is a smart man. That is a smart man and there's a whole team around him that's really smart too. That brings that forward. So I am much respect. When he went away, I was like, that's the ultimate act of self-care, y'all. Y'all see this. Y'all see this. 550 million, whatever it was, millions and millions of dollars. It's beautiful and wonderful. But if my soul is not intact,
that's real.
You know?
And if you think that is, even if it's entertaining, you think it's becoming a detriment to your people.
Yeah.
That's another powerful piece too.
Major. Wow. Ultimate act of love. Ultimate act of love. You know, that's James Baldwin coming back to America from Paris. And be like, hold up, I need to be down south. I need to sit at the counters and talk to the people. You know, yeah, I'm saying this there's one this morning. Meet the Press, not Meet the Press. Something media, NPR, where Brooke Gladstone.
Okay.
Great piece about tracing back from 40 Acres and Mule until now. And they had this great speech with Dr. King talking. And Dr. King was talking about how allowing people to sit at your lunch counter is not enough if you don't allow them to also find ways to get out of poverty. I was like, preach, King. Like, I was like, I don't remember hearing this one too much. They talked about how we don't hear. You get the safe King. You know, he's saying allowing someone to shop in a store is not equal to them truly having access to take part in loans and bank situations to improve health and participate equally in society. You could do the first all day long, but it means nothing if the second part is not connected. And what that is saying, stop it with denying people loans and access and high interest rates and all the things that happen that have been done to Black people. It's amazing to me to hear people say like, yo, man, redlining really happened. And I'm like, why do you think yes, it did. Look at my daily existence and understand that I know redlining happened. I know I don't have generational wealth. None of it. And it's attached directly to that, you know? So it's wonderful and powerful to see people like, oh, it's also, come on now. I've been saying this for years. I've been asking you to consider this for years. And it's amazing to I was gonna say to have to, but I guess we don't have to accept that people are arriving just now. You know, it's like, well, great, good for y'all, go do that. You know, I'll come, here's my invoice when we come talk to y'all. Give you a lecture and tell you more things to read and do and challenge you and engage you in conversation, facilitate your dialogue. I'm down. I need to get closer to my I need to build my bank. And I know it's my skill set that I have to bring to the table, and I want it to be fed and nourished, you know? So yeah, I mean, these are things that I think about constantly, you know, constantly. I was just thinking, since we started with books, I'll kind of wrap it up and bring this in to the book thing of like, I was thinking I need to find a book that's like, just like about nothing, you know? Right now, rereading Stamped from the Beginning. I'm reading Up South, which is a story like African Americans migrating to Philadelphia. I picked up Isabel Wilkerson's Warmth of Other Suns again. You know, I'm digging into Color of Law, Richard Rothstein again. I'm like, this is heavy. Where am I like, where's my fantasy book, you know, about some issues and situation? I need to find a way for that balance. I love to read, and I don't have no problem with all that I read, but it does get a little like, where's my break?
I hear that.
Where's my break?
Self-care is important, good brother.
Yes, it is. Yeah, speaking of self-care, I think I have a little self-care moment right here.
I think I'll join you.
Join me, dude. Good to have you here. Let me actually ask one question before we go off. And it's a little off this topic, but I think it works. And I was thinking about it because something you said sparked it in terms of how we think about folks and the work that needs to be done. What do you think of the term fair skin?
I think that it's one of those words that needs to be abolished from our lexicon, particularly as people of color, because there's so much self-hate, internalized oppression, racism, and brokenness in that, and it's by design. It's by design. But that's why for me, I always say, because I was having conversations, I talk to people all the time, and when I give presentations and stuff of those natures, like language is a powerful thing. And I always start by saying, and I'm sure people have heard this, you probably heard this before. My mother used to tell me, you know, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And I'm like, I understood what she was trying to tell me, preparing me for this world that we live in, where I was going to hear a lot of ish. I understand that. But the truth be told, words hurt. Words can wage war, can castigate people to a certain space to the point where it starts a genocide or ethnic cleansing, so to speak. It can bar people out of certain laws and policies. Words, language hurt. At the same time, language can also be liberating. So something that can be offensive and oppressive can also be liberating. So when we look at language, I always question who created the term, where does it come from, Why do we use it? And then again, you know, language is contextual too, and it's also relational and situational. So you and I might be able to use certain languages or certain words together in a specific context that we wouldn't dare use other spaces, because it's like we understand the power that these words have, or how they can be taken, particularly out of context, by people who are not relational or situational to where we are. But fair skin in particular, there's so much stuff that's wrong with that. It's almost like when we question the whole notion of beauty salon or beauty parlor. Maybe you were beautiful before you went there. You know, so when you think about these things, just like, what do we call it? Do we call it the shop? Do we call it where I'm going to get my hair did? Right? There's all these things. So I really think about language and how stifling and limiting it can be, and also how liberating it can be. But with the whole term of fair-skinned, there's a lot of things that's problematic about it. I've used it in the past, and sometimes if it comes up, I have to check myself.
Yeah.
I know you've mentioned it on several occasions too, in particular. But yeah, I think there's so much in language, and we can't just throw it to the side, say words don't hurt, say it doesn't matter. Oh, are you upset with the words I use? Yes, I am upset with the words you use. That's the problem. Think about other words.
Yeah, I brought it up again because I was thinking about, you know, revisiting these conversations that we talk about, and having new ways of discussing them. Because there were many times when I heard it, it's kind of, you know, like, oof, you know. And I think about it. It goes back to Shakespeare uses it to describe beauty. You know, the fair maiden is old language. And I remember being in high school and I had to memorize a poem, and a poem had a line about someone's like pearly white shoulders, and I remember being like, ugh. I don't see the. I was thinking like, what? How is that beautiful? You know, thinking about the color of a pearl. It's like somebody's skin is that color. Like, I remember really being struck with that. Like I don't trying to get it. It just makes sense to me. And then as I grew, I was like, oh, well, this is what this is pushing it about. But yeah, I, you know, it's people who I have great respect for use that term all the time. Just it's common language, you know. And I think that is one of those moments of disruption. And I find people often surprised. I go, in the way I break it down is I say, does that mean my skin is not fair? Because that word will never apply to my skin. So let's start there. This is why I don't like the use of that word. And I just think it's just another example of ways of interrupting what is standard. Can you think of another? This is put you on the spot. Can you think of another idea or concept that we have that's yeah.
Like for example, blacklisted or blackball.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, a lot of people have made it a point to say, oh, whitelisted or whiteball or whatever the case may be. But there's always those pieces where it's like something that's negative, or where you're getting certain treatment that is not favorable, right? Or you've been blacklisted. And you know, those are pieces. You know, but I would say that a lot of things are generational. And a lot of things, just because they're generational or traditional, doesn't mean it should still fly.
Right. Yeah. What do you think of this change from saying master bedroom? Do you say master bedroom?
See, I don't, because like, so here's the thing. It's funny because I'll never forget. And this is when I was like starting to think a little bit more about other things. So I went to go visit, I don't know if we were dating at the time. So I went to go visit my wife, who's not my wife. I went to go visit her in Georgia. Went to go visit Amanda in Georgia. And we went to Stone Mountain.
Oof.
Folks know about Stone Mountain.
Oof.
I encourage you. I encourage you to go find out. So we're at Stone Mountain, and we're going to see some of the, you know, leftover spaces from, like, you know, you had the those who were enslaved, their houses, and also like some of the plantation parlors and things of that nature. And we're walking through and everything. It's like, oh, this is the master bedroom. And I'm like, So I mean, and before I used to always like, no, oh, master bedroom, master. But being there in that space, in that moment, I'm like, this is wild.
Right.
Wild. So I'm just like, this is the biggest bedroom.
Right.
This is the biggest bedroom. Is that the master? And even thinking about, for example, when you think about me going to boarding school, The person who was in charge was called a headmaster or a headmistress.
Yep.
Problematic.
Yep.
Problematic.
Yep.
Let's change that language. And there's other pieces too. You think about, there's just so many other pieces. Like you think about professional sports, right? You know, the book by William Roden, $40 Million Slaves. You think about the people who own the teams. They're referred to as owners.
Yeah.
They have conversations about trading, and they have conversations about all the other stuff. It's like, oh, so his owner.
Right.
I get it, but I don't.
Yeah. I've watched, you know, those like training camps.
Oh, the combine, yep.
And I've been like, dang, this is, I mean, it's wonderful to see like the athletic prowess and the strength, but it's also like, run faster, run.
They're taking measurements. How high can you jump? How much can you bench?
Exactly. It's a lot. I mean, and yay, they're making more money now, but still. Please, I'm with you there, because I've been in spaces where people say, we need you to oversee this project. I'm like, oversee?
Oh, okay.
Let me talk to you. But it's real. I mean, and I think that's the. Some people can say this is frivolous and not that meaningful, not important, but it's deeply important, because think about what that implies and what that has meant over generations in our society, and how people have been treated, owned, controlled, manipulated, destroyed, you know, with that language. So by refusing to change that language, you're agreeing to the work that is a deprecation of me and my people. That's how I feel. And there's no clear line in there.
And that's beautiful, because that is akin to a lot of these monuments that you see coming down. And folks are like, well, those are just, let's actually interrogate that a little bit more so. So this language, this idol or monument, whatever, what does it represent? What does that language represent? What is it upholding? What is it getting in the way of? Right. So when we think about these questions, it's important to say, no. Right. Sometimes we gotta be a little Harlem and do too much, you know?
Exactly. That's our motif.
Yes.
Thing. Got to find some way to slide it in. Yeah, I think I remember the Stone Mountain. When I first went to Atlanta, I didn't know. And I was like, oh, I want to go see Stone Mountain. I heard it was really nice. And people were like, you want to go to Stone Mountain? I didn't want to go there. I was like, I just want to see this historic landmark in the eye of the mountain. Like, bro, no, you know. And I read, and I was like, oh, yeah, I want to go to Stone Mountain. You know, I think it's important to see, but you can feel it. You see what's carved into the mountain? I was like, wow, they did this. Like, they are some bold mofos. And here's a moment. We talk about monuments being changed, and Mississippi right now does not have a flag, because they stopped using their flag that had the stars and bars, St. Andrew's cross and the stars. But Georgia, the Georgia state flag, the actual version of the present day flag is exactly, minus a few small changes, to the first original Confederate flag. Like, that's Georgia's flag. Like, stars and bars came a little bit later, not long after, but pretty soon into the Civil War period. But your first Confederate flag, look at that, and look at Georgia's flag right now. Like, the Google search, whatever, look up the very first Confederate flag and look at Georgia's flag. We're in for a moment of information and history.
All right. So,
no more fair skin language. No more overseer. Get out of that. That's been called the C-suite. Call it something else. You know, call it the room up front.
Right.
You know, I think about that now. I didn't grow up hearing the master bedroom in my family's house. It was the front room, the middle room, and the back.
Talk about it. I wonder why. Why.
Yeah.
I wonder why we have certain language. Remember, it's relational, situational, and sexual.
Yeah. I never heard my grandmother say the master bedroom. It never came out of her mouth. The front room.
Exactly. My grandmother too.
Interesting. I never made that connection until just now. Think about that. Well, Mr.
We did it again.
I think so. This was nice and deep. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah. Must be that Pikesville. Must be that Knob Creek.
Doing it to death.
Yeah. So anything on your heart that you want to toast to at the end, the final toast?
Yeah, I'll toast to the deconstruction and the reconstruction of language.
Okay. I like that.
Implies.
I like that.
What you got? You got anything?
I think that's good enough, brother, because I think that's deep, and that's something that we all need to work on yesterday.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes. Great, man. Do it.
I made it.
Ah, Pikesville. Auntie Jean.
Good call.
Excellent. Well, beautiful, man. Another great one.
Brown Juice Barbershop, baby.
One of my favorites.
We in here. So till next time, stay safe.
Stay safe. Be good. Be well.
Your language where you need.
Exactly.